They told you to be soft. They told you to be patient. They told you to explain yourself over and over again to people who already decided they would misunderstand you. But there comes a day in every woman's life when her spirit gets tired of bleeding for people who feel nothing while they watch her suffer. And when that day comes, you do not scream, you do not beg, you do not chase. You become a mystery they can no longer control, because listen to me carefully tonight. Some men are not confused by your tears. Some men are not moved by your loyalty. Some men become comfortable hurting the very woman who keeps forgiving them. And the moment a person becomes comfortable disrespecting your heart, your pain no longer teaches them anything. That is why your silence becomes necessary. Oh, I know this world taught women to react, to defend themselves immediately, to prove their worth immediately, to cry immediately. But power, real power, does not rush to explain itself, and when a man hurts you, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is become unreadable, not cruel, not bitter, unreadable. You stop giving him access to your emotions like they are free samples at a grocery store. You stop allowing your sadness to entertain the person who caused it. You stop handing people instruction manuals on how to manipulate you. And suddenly, the game changes, because confusion begins where control ends. You see, people expect consistency from the woman they hurt. They expect the crying, the paragraphs, the emotional breakdowns, the desperate need for closure. But when you stand up straight after disappointment, when your voice becomes calm after betrayal, when your eyes stop begging for understanding, something inside them begins to shake, because now they can no longer predict you. And nothing frightens a careless person more than losing access to the emotions they once controlled. I want every woman listening to me tonight to understand this. Your peace is not weakness. Your restraint is not weakness. Your detachment is not weakness. Sometimes the loudest thing a woman can say is absolutely nothing. Oh yes, because silence has a sound, and mature silence sounds like self-respect. There are women in this room who gave too many chances because they believed love could heal disrespect, but love without dignity will destroy you slowly. You cannot keep setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You cannot keep pouring oceans into people who only arrive with teaspoons, and one day you wake up exhausted, not because you loved too much, because you abandoned yourself while trying to save someone else. That is why I say when a man hurts you, confuse him like this. Become harder to reach emotionally, not physically, emotionally. Smile without explaining why. Leave rooms peacefully. Stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop announcing your pain like a public emergency. Heal privately, grow quietly, win silently. Because some people only recognize your value when they no longer have complete access to you. And let me tell you something powerful tonight. A woman who finally understands her worth becomes dangerous to manipulation. Oh yes, she does. Because now she no longer panics when someone pulls away. She no longer destroys herself trying to keep temporary people permanent. She no longer mistakes attention for love. And when she walks away, she does not stomp, she glides. That kind of woman leaves people haunted, not because she was loud, but because she became unforgettable. Now hear me carefully. I am not telling you to play childish games. I am not telling you to become cold-hearted. I am telling you to stop reacting from wounded emotion. There is a difference. A wounded woman reacts instantly. A healed woman responds intentionally. And intentional women cannot be controlled easily. You know what confuses people? Calmness, especially when they expected chaos from you. They expected you to collapse after betrayal. But instead, you elevated yourself. They expected revenge, but instead you disappeared into your purpose. They expected endless explanations, but instead you gave them distance. And distance has a way of revealing truth. Some people only miss your presence when your energy no longer carries them. Oh, I wish somebody told women earlier that closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is realizing you deserve better and refusing to negotiate with pain anymore. That is closure, and there is something deeply powerful about a woman who no longer needs to prove she was worthy of basic respect. Listen, The moment you stop chasing validation, your spirit breathes differently, your posture changes, your eyes change, your energy changes. You stop entering rooms asking, will they accept me? And you start entering rooms asking, does this place deserve my presence? That is transformation. And when a man hurts you, your greatest revenge is not destruction. It is evolution. Because nothing confuses people more than watching the person they underestimated become stronger without them. Oh yes, people know how to respond to anger. People know how to respond to tears. But growth unsettles people. Because now your happiness no longer depends on their behavior. And that is freedom. You see, emotionally immature people survive through reaction. They poke wounds just to watch you bleed emotionally. They provoke insecurity just to feel powerful. They disappear just to see if you will chase. But when you stop participating in emotional games, entire structure collapses because your calmness exposes their chaos. Let me say that again for the women in the back. Your calmness exposes their chaos, and suddenly they are confused because the version of you they controlled no longer exists. Now you answer differently. Now you carry yourself differently. Now you understand that peace is expensive, and not everybody deserves access to it. There are women listening to me tonight who need to stop over-explaining themselves. Stop trying to convince people to treat you properly. Respect that must be begged for is already contaminated. And hear me when I say this. The strongest woman in the room is not always the loudest one. Sometimes she is the quiet woman who survived disappointment without becoming bitter. That takes strength to still smile after betrayal, to still trust yourself after heartbreak, to still walk gracefully after someone mishandled your love. That takes strength. And when you truly know your worth, you stop seeing rejection as destruction. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes God removes people because your future cannot carry their confusion. Oh yes, everybody cannot go where you are going. Some people were only assigned to your life for a season. And when the season ends, your spirit knows it before your emotions accept it. That is why your intuition grows quiet before your life changes. And women must learn to trust that silence. Because your spirit recognizes danger long before your heart stops hoping. Now let me tell you something that may shake this room tonight. A woman becomes unstoppable the moment she realizes being alone is far more peaceful than being emotionally disrespected. Loneliness cannot break you the way betrayal can, and too many women stay connected to pain because they are afraid of solitude. But solitude can heal you. Solitude teaches you your identity beyond relationships. Solitude teaches you to hear your own thoughts again. Solitude teaches you that your worth existed before anybody chose you. And once a woman discovers that, she no longer settles for crumbs pretending to be love. No, sir. She stops auditioning for affection. She stops shrinking herself to keep fragile people comfortable. She stops apologizing for standards that protect her peace. And that woman becomes unforgettable because she finally belongs to herself. Listen carefully. Some people only respected you when you were suffering. Some people only felt powerful when you were insecure. Some people only liked you when you were easy to manipulate. But healing changes your energy, and healed women become difficult to control because now your joy is internal, your confidence is internal, your peace is internal. Nobody can threaten what they did not create. That is why when a man hurts you, your mission is not to destroy him emotionally. Your mission is to become emotionally unavailable to disrespect. Do you hear me tonight? Unavailable to disrespect, unavailable to manipulation, unavailable to inconsistency, unavailable to emotional confusion disguised as love. And suddenly your standards begin filtering people automatically. The wrong people leave because they cannot feed on your insecurity anymore. That is not loss. That is alignment. You know what truly confuses people? When you stop needing revenge to feel powerful. Because revenge keeps you emotionally attached to the pain. Healing releases you from it. And there is no greater victory than inner peace, oh yes. People expect broken women to stay broken. They expect pain to reduce you permanently. But they never expect the woman they wounded to rise wiser, calmer, and stronger than before. That transformation unsettles people, because now your eyes carry discernment. You no longer fall for beautiful words without consistent actions. You no longer confuse chemistry with character. You no longer romanticize potential while ignoring reality. And maturity will save your life. Because mature women understand this truth. Attention is not commitment. Charm is not integrity. Promises are not consistency. Watch actions. Always watch actions. People reveal themselves through patterns, not speeches. And if someone repeatedly hurts you while claiming they love you, believe the behavior more than the words. Love should not feel like emotional survival every day. Love should not force you to abandon your dignity to keep connection alive. Real love brings clarity. Manipulation brings confusion. And many women are exhausted because they keep trying to decode people who already showed them exactly who they are. Stop translating disrespect into potential. Stop decorating red flags with hope. Stop calling emotional instability complicated love. No, peaceful love exists, respectful love exists, consistent love exists, but first, you must become the kind of woman who no longer negotiates her value for temporary affection. And that requires discipline, because sometimes your heart wants what your spirit knows is dangerous. That is why self-respect must become stronger than attachment. Oh, I know that is hard, especially when you invested years, especially when memories still live inside you, especially when part of you still hopes they will change. But hear me carefully tonight. You cannot heal in the same environment where your spirit keeps getting wounded. At some point, wisdom must interrupt emotion, and wise women understand that every goodbye is not punishment. Sometimes goodbye is protection. Sometimes goodbye is self-respect. Sometimes goodbye is the first step toward becoming yourself again. There are people in this room carrying heartbreak quietly, smiling publicly while bleeding privately. I want you to hear this from me tonight. You are not difficult to love. You were simply giving your heart to people who lacked the emotional depth to honor it properly. And that realization changes everything, because now you stop blaming yourself for another person's inability to love correctly. You stop reducing your light to fit inside their limitations, and slowly you rise again. Not loudly, not dramatically, but intentionally. You start taking care of yourself differently. You start protecting your energy differently. You start speaking to yourself with more kindness. You stop chasing closure from people committed to confusion. And one day you wake up, and the pain no longer controls your mornings. That is healing. Healing is not forgetting what happened. Healing is remembering without collapsing. And when you reach that point, something beautiful happens. You become emotionally free. Now listen, a powerful woman does not spend her life trying to be understood by everybody. She understands herself first, and when you truly know yourself, rejection loses its ability to destroy you, because your worth is no longer sitting in somebody else's hands. That is freedom, and freedom changes your walk. Freedom changes your standards. Freedom changes your entire life. So if somebody hurts you, do not destroy yourself trying to prove your value to them. Do not beg for honesty. Do not beg for consistency. Do not beg for effort. Step back. Observe, detach emotionally from what dishonors you, and let your silence speak what your dignity refuses to explain, because some lessons people only learn through absence. And if they never learn, keep moving anyway. Your destiny is too important to spend your life drowning in somebody else's emotional immaturity. You were not born to beg for crumbs. You were not born to chase unstable love. You were not born to carry relationships alone while calling it loyalty. No, you were born to stand tall. You were born to protect your peace. You were born to become a woman whose presence carries strength, wisdom, and grace. And when you finally understand that, people who once confused you will become confused by you, because now you smile differently. Now you move differently. Now your energy says, I survived what was meant to break me. And ladies, there is nothing more powerful than a woman who survived heartbreak without losing herself. Nothing. They expect revenge to look loud. They expect revenge to sound angry. They expect revenge to arrive with screaming voices, broken hearts, and dramatic exits. But the coldest revenge has never been destruction. The coldest revenge is self-respect. It is the moment you stop begging for the love that should have been given freely. It is the moment your tears dry and your spirit finally says, enough. It is the moment you realize that losing yourself trying to keep someone else was never love in the first place. And there are people listening to me right now who know exactly what I mean. You gave chance after chance. You stayed longer than your soul wanted to stay. You forgave things that quietly damaged your confidence. You kept trying to understand people who never tried to understand you. And one day you woke up exhausted. Not exhausted because you loved too much. Exhausted because you abandoned yourself while trying to hold on to people who treated your loyalty like it was ordinary. That pain changes a person, because eventually the human spirit gets tired of carrying disrespect in silence. And the dangerous thing about a person who finally chooses self-respect is this. They stop fearing loss. Oh yes. The moment you stop fearing who leaves your life, your power returns immediately. Because now your decisions are no longer controlled by desperation. Now your standards are no longer negotiable. Now your peace matters more than temporary attention. And there is nothing more intimidating than someone who finally understands their own value. People become confused when access to you is no longer easy. People become uncomfortable when your silence replaces emotional chaos. People become nervous when the person they underestimated suddenly becomes calm, because calmness is power. Especially after pain, anybody can scream. Anybody can react emotionally. Anybody can lose control in moments of disappointment. But it takes deep strength to remain grounded after betrayal. It takes deep healing to walk away without trying to destroy the person who hurt you. And that is where self-respect begins. Self-respect begins the moment you stop trying to convince people to care. Listen carefully tonight. If somebody has to be forced to value you, they never truly valued you to begin with. Love that requires constant begging is emotional slavery. You should not have to convince someone to communicate with honesty. You should not have to convince someone to treat you gently. You should not have to shrink yourself just to avoid being abandoned. That is not love. That is survival. And too many people are surviving relationships instead of living inside them peacefully. They wake up anxious. They sleep overthinking. They spend entire days decoding mixed signals, inconsistent behavior, and empty promises. But when self-respect finally enters your life, confusion begins to disappear. Because self-respect changes your tolerance, suddenly the things you once accepted start feeling unbearable. The lies feel louder. The manipulation feels obvious. The emotional games feel childish. And your spirit starts craving peace more than attachment. That is growth. Growth is realizing that loneliness is painful, but losing yourself is far worse. There are people in this world who only know how to love when they are in control. They feel powerful when you chase them. They feel important when your happiness depends on them. They feel secure when your self-worth is weak enough to tolerate disrespect. But self-respect destroys unhealthy control, because now you no longer react the same way. Now you no longer panic when somebody withdraws attention. Now you no longer collapse every time someone fails to choose you properly. And let me tell you something powerful. Nothing shakes manipulative people more than emotional independence. Oh yes, because emotionally independent people cannot be controlled easily. You stop responding from fear. You stop tolerating confusion. You stop sacrificing your dignity just to keep temporary people close. And suddenly, your entire energy changes. Your silence becomes different. Your posture becomes different. Your eyes become different. You stop looking for permission to exist confidently. That is what self-respect does to a person. It rebuilds the parts of you that pain tried to destroy. There are some people who only appreciated your softness after they lost access to it. But by then you had already learned something valuable. Not everybody deserves unlimited access to your heart. And that lesson saves lives, because kind people often mistake endurance for loyalty. They think staying through pain proves love. They think overgiving proves devotion. They think sacrificing themselves proves commitment. But real love should not require self-destruction. Real love should not make you feel emotionally unsafe every day. You should not constantly feel confused around someone who claims to care about you. You should not feel emotionally starved inside a relationship. And when self-respect awakens inside you, your standards begin to rise naturally. You stop accepting half-love. You stop accepting inconsistent effort. You stop romanticizing potential while ignoring reality. Because reality matters more than promises. Anybody can make beautiful promises. Pay attention to patterns. Thoughts reveal truth faster than words ever will. If somebody continuously hurts you while claiming they love you, believe the behavior. Behavior is honesty. And mature people understand this. Words without actions become manipulation eventually. That is why self-respect requires observation. You stop ignoring red flags because somebody is charming. You stop excusing repeated disrespect because somebody says the right things afterward. You stop handing your heart to people who only know how to protect themselves. And yes, that kind of growth can feel lonely at first. Because when your standards rise, access to you becomes more limited. But loneliness built from self-respect feels peaceful. Loneliness built from betrayal feels exhausting. There is a difference. One heals you. The other slowly destroys your confidence. And some of you listening tonight have spent too much time trying to heal people who enjoy hurting you. You cannot save someone who feels powerful through your pain. You cannot heal someone who refuses accountability. At some point, wisdom must become stronger than emotional attachment. That is maturity. Maturity is recognizing when love is no longer healthy for your spirit. And some people never leave toxic situations because they are addicted to hope. Hope keeps them waiting. Hope keeps them tolerating. Hope keeps them explaining away behavior that should never be accepted. But self-respect interrupts unhealthy hope. Self-respect says, I deserve consistency. Self-respect says, I deserve honesty. Self-respect says, I will not continue begging for what should come naturally. And once you truly believe that, your life changes forever. Because now you stop seeing boundaries as cruelty. Boundaries are protection. The people who become angry when you establish boundaries were often benefiting from your lack of them. Write that again in your spirit tonight. Some people preferred the broken version of you because the healed version became harder to manipulate. The healed version asks questions. The healed version observes actions carefully. The healed version no longer ignores intuition for temporary comfort. And intuition is powerful. Your spirit notices danger before your heart accepts it. That uncomfortable feeling you keep dismissing. That emotional exhaustion you keep explaining away. That anxiety you feel around inconsistent people. Pay attention to it. Your soul recognizes instability long before your mind creates excuses for it. And self-respect means listening to yourself again. It means trusting your inner voice after years of doubting it. Because people who manipulate others often train them to distrust their own instincts. They make you question your reactions. They make you feel guilty for asking for clarity. They make you feel dramatic for expecting honesty. But clarity is not too much to ask for. Consistency is not too much to ask for. Respect is not too much to ask for. The right people will never make you feel guilty for having healthy standards. Only emotionally immature people become threatened by boundaries. And there are some people in this room who need to stop apologizing for protecting their peace. Not everybody deserves unlimited emotional access to you. Your energy matters. Your mental peace matters. Your emotional stability matters. Stop acting like your needs are inconveniences. You deserve relationships where honesty is normal. You deserve relationships where communication is mature. You deserve relationships where your nervous system can finally relax. Because peace is a form of wealth. And many people are emotionally bankrupt because they keep investing in chaos. They chase unstable love because instability feels familiar. They mistake emotional confusion for passion. They confuse anxiety with connection. But healthy love feels safe. Healthy love does not constantly threaten your self-worth. And the moment you experience emotionally healthy connections, you realize how exhausting toxic attachment truly was. Suddenly, you no longer crave emotional roller coasters. You crave calmness. You crave honesty. You crave people whose actions match their words consistently. That is emotional maturity. And mature people understand that walking away from disrespect is not weakness. It is discipline, because staying attached to harmful people often comes from fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of losing memories, fear of accepting painful truth. But painful truth heals faster than comfortable lies. A lie may comfort you temporarily, but eventually it drains your spirit. Truth hurts quickly. Lies hurt slowly. And self-respect chooses truth even when truth feels difficult. Self-respect says, I would rather be alone than emotionally destroyed. That sentence changes lives. Because many people stay where they are tolerated instead of celebrated. They keep accepting crumbs because deep down they do not believe they deserve the full meal. And low self-worth attracts painful experiences repeatedly. When you do not value yourself properly, you tolerate treatment that damages you deeply. You accept inconsistency, you excuse neglect, you normalize emotional instability. But once your self-worth increases, your standards automatically shift. You stop chasing unavailable people. You stop proving yourself to emotionally immature individuals. You stop confusing attention with genuine care, because attention is temporary. Respect is intentional. Anybody can give you attention when it benefits them. But respect requires character, and character reveals itself during difficult moments. Pay attention to how people treat you when you express needs. Pay attention to how people behave when they are upset. Pay attention to how people communicate when they no longer get their way. Pressure exposes true character, always. And people who truly care about you will not continuously gamble with your emotional well-being. They will not repeatedly hurt you and call it love afterward. Love should not constantly leave emotional bruises on your spirit. Love should nourish your confidence, not destroy it. That is why self-respect becomes the coldest revenge. Because instead of becoming bitter, you become wiser. Instead of seeking revenge publicly, you rebuild yourself privately. Instead of wasting years obsessing over who hurt you, you evolve beyond them. And evolution terrifies people who expected you to remain broken. Oh yes. Nothing confuses people more than watching the person they underestimated become stronger without them, especially when they believed your identity depended on their presence. But self-respect teaches you something beautiful. Your value existed before anybody chose you. Ride that again slowly. Your value existed before anybody validated you, before anybody loved you, before anybody stayed, before anybody noticed your light. Your worth is not created by human approval. And when you finally understand that, rejection loses its power to destroy you completely, because now you realize this truth. Rejection often reveals incompatibility, not inadequacy. Everybody who leaves your life is not proof that you were unworthy. Sometimes people leave because they lack the emotional depth to honor what you carry. And mature people stop taking every ending personally. Some endings are necessary. Some endings save your future. Some endings reconnect you with yourself, because there are relationships that slowly disconnect you from your confidence. You stop recognizing yourself. You become anxious constantly. You overthink every interaction. You lose your natural joy trying to maintain emotional survival. That is not love. That is emotional exhaustion disguised as attachment. And once you heal properly, you never romanticize suffering the same way again. You stop glorifying struggle love. You stop believing pain automatically equals passion. You stop chasing emotionally unavailable people, hoping your loyalty will heal them. No, healing is an individual responsibility. You cannot heal people who refuse to confront themselves honestly. And some people will continue hurting others until consequences finally teach them what kindness could not. That is why your absence matters. Not every lesson requires an argument. Sometimes distance teaches people what conversations never could. Sometimes silence reveals value louder than words. And people often recognize your importance only after your energy is no longer available to them. But by then, your self-respect has already changed you. Now you move differently. Now you protect your peace carefully. Now you stop oversharing your emotions with people who weaponize vulnerability. And vulnerability should never become entertainment for emotionally careless people. Protect your softness. Not everybody deserves access to the deepest parts of you, because emotionally mature people understand that intimacy is sacred. Your heart is sacred. Your peace is sacred. Your emotional energy is sacred. Stop giving it away so cheaply, and stop believing you must overextend yourself to deserve love. The right people will not require constant self-sacrifice from you. Healthy relationships do not demand the destruction of your identity. Healthy love allows you to breathe. Healthy love allows honesty. Healthy love allows growth. Healthy love allows emotional safety. And once you experience that kind of connection, chaos loses its appeal completely, because peace feels better than unpredictability. There are people listening tonight who have confused emotional intensity with genuine love for far too long. Butterflies are not always a sign of destiny. Sometimes butterflies are anxiety. Sometimes your body is warning you about instability while your heart mistakes it for excitement. That is why emotional maturity matters. Mature people choose consistency over temporary thrill. Because temporary thrill fades quickly, character remains. And character determines whether love becomes healing or destructive. So choose people with integrity. Choose people with emotional accountability. Choose people who communicate honestly. Choose people whose actions create peace instead of confusion. Most importantly, choose yourself first, not selfishly, wisely. Because people who do not choose themselves often abandon their needs trying to keep others comfortable. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They remain silent to avoid rejection. They overgive, hoping love will finally feel secure. But secure love cannot grow where self-respect is absent. Self-respect teaches people how to treat you. Your boundaries educate others about your standards. And if somebody consistently violates those boundaries, believe them. Stop expecting repeated disrespect to magically transform into healthy love someday. Points matter. Repeated behavior matters. Consistency matters. And emotionally healthy people understand this truth. Apologies without changed behavior become manipulation eventually. That sentence alone could save somebody's life tonight. Because too many people are trapped inside cycles of temporary apologies and permanent disappointment. They keep accepting words while ignoring patterns. But words are easy. Consistency is effort. Character is effort. Maturity is effort. And people who genuinely care about you will put effort into protecting your emotional well-being, not repeatedly damaging it. That is why self-respect changes everything. Because now you stop settling for potential. You start paying attention to reality. Reality reveals whether somebody is emotionally safe for your spirit. And emotional safety matters more than charm. Charm can attract you temporarily. Peace sustains you long-term. So stop choosing temporary excitement over lasting emotional health. Your nervous system deserves peace. Your heart deserves honesty. Your life deserves stability. And once you truly understand your value, your standards stop feeling like punishment. They become protection, because self-respect is not arrogance. Self-respect is refusing to participate in your own emotional destruction anymore. It is refusing to beg for bare minimum effort. It is refusing to normalize confusion. It is refusing to shrink yourself to keep unhealthy people comfortable. And that kind of transformation changes your entire life, because now you no longer fear endings the same way. You understand that losing toxic attachment is not failure. Sometimes losing people is the beginning of finding yourself again.